The moment reports surfaced about Ja Rule getting jumped backstage, attention quickly shifted toward Cameron and Mase because of their reputation for addressing industry moments without hesitation. Their show has become known for its unfiltered commentary, and viewers expected them to weigh in. When they finally spoke on the situation, their remarks circulated instantly, largely because of how direct and straightforward they were. They didn't try to soften anything, and they didn't avoid any uncomfortable angles. The clip opened with them acknowledging that the incident had become a major talking point, and that they were aware fans were waiting for their reaction. They didn't waste any time getting to the core of what they thought. Cameron began by addressing the situation from a practical standpoint. He questioned how the confrontation happened so easily and how the people involved managed to reach Ja Rule without interference. He pointed out that backstage areas at events are usually controlled environments, which raised questions about whether the security arrangement was handled properly. Mase agreed with the assessment and added that the entire situation seemed too coordinated to be accidental. He mentioned that when someone with Ja Rule's profile moves through a venue, there are usually multiple layers of protection. Both of them emphasized that the timing, placement, and access raised legitimate concerns that needed to be looked at more closely. From there, Cameron and Mase discussed how quickly the incident gained traction online. They noted that as soon as the news spread, platforms were filled with clips, photos, and commentary from people who weren't even at the event. Mase pointed out how difficult it becomes to determine the truth when people immediately start circulating different versions of the story. Cameron added that once a narrative forms on social media, it becomes nearly impossible to change it, regardless of what actually happened. They both agreed that the public reaction moved faster than the verified details and that this contributed to confusion surrounding the incident. The two then shifted to the question of whether the confrontation was targeted. Cameron brought up the possibility that someone knew the route Ja Rule was going to take backstage. He didn't claim inside involvement, but he made it clear that the situation had raised questions. Mase followed by stating that misunderstandings or sudden disagreements can happen at events, but this incident appeared more organized based on how quickly it unfolded. They both stressed that they weren't accusing anyone of planning it, but were simply pointing out what the timing suggested. Their analysis stayed grounded and focused on practical considerations rather than speculation. When they addressed Ja Rule's reaction to the incident, both Cameron and Mase acknowledged that the leaked audio from inside the dressing room offered important insight. They mentioned that Ja Rule remained calm in the recording and didn't escalate the energy, which stood out to them. Mase pointed out that remaining composed during moments like that isn't easy, especially when the situation involves physical confrontation. Cameron agreed and said the audio showed Ja Rule trying to assess what happened instead of reacting emotionally. Both hosts said this was an important detail because it revealed more about how he processed the situation than anything seen online. After analyzing Ja Rule's response, the conversation turned toward the rumors that began spreading immediately after the video clips went public. They highlighted how quickly people began pointing fingers and forming conclusions without evidence. Mase mentioned that fans often jump to dramatic interpretations, especially when a well-known artist is involved. Cameron said that the speed at which misinformation spreads has become a major part of modern incidents, making it difficult for anyone to control the narrative. They agreed that most of the online commentary lacked context and that many people were reacting before even understanding what actually happened. They then addressed a separate angle, how people use the incident to bring up past disputes involving Ja Rule. Cameron commented that whenever something happens involving him, the old rivalry discussions start again even if it's unrelated. Mase added that when an artist has a long history in the industry, every new situation gets compared to older conflicts whether the comparison is accurate or not. They both made it clear that while Ja Rule may have past issues, those shouldn't automatically shape how people view current events without proper information. The most direct part of their commentary came when they addressed the industry culture around moments like this. Cameron stated plainly that artists need to be aware of their surroundings and rely on effective security structure at events. He didn't blame Ja Rule, but he emphasized the importance of operational awareness. Mase added that artists often trust venue staff and assume everything will run smoothly, but incidents like this show the need for stronger internal coordination. They both emphasized that the incident highlighted weaknesses in how the event was organized rather than anything personal about Ja Rule himself. Throughout their discussion, Cameron and Mase balanced critique with clarity. They didn't mock, exaggerate, or dramatize the incident. Their tone stayed consistent, focusing on what was known, what was unclear, and what needed to be addressed. Their approach stood out because they didn't avoid sensitive points, nor did they try to sensationalize. They simply analyzed the situation as two experienced artists who understand how backstage environments function and how easily miscommunication can lead to larger incidents. Their frankness and refusal to hold back became the core reason why their commentary drew so much attention. After laying out their initial reaction, Cameron and Mase shifted the conversation toward how the public handled the situation once the clip started spreading. They noted that fans often take a single moment and expand it into multiple storylines, many of which have no connection to the actual event. Mase pointed out that within hours of the incident, people online were already creating theories about who was involved, why it happened, and what it meant for J.A. Rule's career. Cameron agreed and said the speed at which these narratives form makes it difficult to separate facts from assumptions. They highlighted that once an idea gains traction, it becomes part of the conversation even if there's no evidence behind it. They then addressed how the incident triggered discussions about older conflicts involving Ja Rule. Cameron mentioned that some fans immediately tied the moment back to rivalries that occurred years ago, even though nothing suggested a connection. Mase added that hip-hop audiences often carry long memories and connect unrelated situations simply because the same names are involved. Both hosts made it clear they viewed most of these references as unnecessary. They reinforced that every incident needs to be evaluated on its own, not through a lens shaped by past disputes that may not be relevant anymore. The conversation also touched on the issue of security at events. Cameron pointed out that artists rely heavily on venue staff to manage access points and movement control. He said that in situations where someone gets confronted backstage, it usually indicates that the planned structure broke down somewhere. Mase added that even small lapses can lead to major situations, especially when there are multiple people moving through the same area. They explained that backstage environments can become chaotic when coordination isn't tight, making incidents like this more likely. Their comments focus on the operational aspect rather than placing blame on individuals. From there, they examined how quickly the incident escalated into a major topic. Cameron explained that events in the entertainment world often gain traction, not because of the details, but because of who is involved. Mase added that people respond differently when a well-known artist faces a confrontation, and the reactions become amplified regardless of what actually happened. They agreed that in this case, J.A. Rule's reputation and long career played a major role in how widely the incident spread. The public focused on the idea of him getting jumped, even though the full context was not yet available. When discussing the leaked dressing room audio, Cameron and Mase kept their analysis straightforward. They acknowledged that the recording provided insight into J.A. Rule's mindset immediately after the incident. Both noted that he appeared calm and focused on gathering information. Mase said that staying level-headed after a confrontation shows experience, especially in an environment where many people react emotionally. Cameron pointed out that the crew's discussion in the audio highlighted confusion about how the confrontation was able to happen. Their review of the audio remained factual, with no speculation beyond what could be clearly heard. Another point they discussed was how people interpreted the reactions of J.A. Rule's team. Cameron said that the frustration in the room was understandable given the circumstances. Mase added that the quick shift from confusion to analysis showed the team was trying to understand whether there had been a breach in communication or flaw in security. They emphasized that reacting quickly is common in these situations because everyone involved wants to determine whether the confrontation was random or targeted. Their explanation made it clear that the reaction recorded in the audio aligned with typical responses to unexpected backstage incidents. As more posts and reactions circulated online, Cameron and Mase addressed the broader issue of assumptions being made without full information. Cameron warned that the public often fills in gaps with speculation rather than waiting for verified details. Mase echoed the sentiment and pointed out that this leads to narrative shifting repeatedly as people share unconfirmed claims. They advised viewers to focus on what is known rather than adding elements that were never confirmed. Their commentary highlighted the importance of separating facts from rapidly spreading assumptions. They also touched on how the incident reflects the current environment of online commentary. Cameron observed that even mild reactions can be taken out of context and amplified. Mase added that people now expect artists to address every situation publicly, which wasn't always the case in the past. They argued that this expectation contributes to misinformation because silence is often interpreted as confirmation or denial depending on what narrative someone supports. They noted that both Ja Rule and anyone else involved could remain silent for legitimate reasons, including legal or internal review, but the public rarely considers those possibilities. In the final part of their discussion, Cameron and Mase emphasized the need for accurate reporting in situations like this. Cameron said that without clear details, misinformation only grows. Mase added that while the incident was serious, the lack of verified information meant that people should avoid drawing conclusions. They closed by stating that their perspective was based solely on what was publicly available, and that they would reassess if more details emerged. Their closing remarks were calm, direct, and focused on maintaining clarity rather than pushing any narrative. By the time their discussion ended, their commentary had already become a major part of the overall conversation surrounding the incident. Their straightforward approach, combined with their history in the industry, made their perspective stand out. They didn't exaggerate, they didn't add unnecessary drama, and they didn't avoid sensitive points. Their analysis leaned entirely on facts, practical experience, and the information available at the time. This approach is what made the clip spread so quickly, as viewers appreciated that they spoke without hesitation while keeping their commentary grounded in reality.